Hey there, how's it going? This is Chris over at 3D Palace, and I'm going to be creating the torso of this robot. Now, I've been, just to explain to people who are watching this segment of the tutorial and wondering why there's a slightly different tone to it, okay, which is part, 29 I think. I'm also doing kind of a live webcast just to show people the process of creating tutorials. So in this tutorial, if I do things slightly different or explain things in a slightly different way, it's just because I'm trying to explain also to members of the hard-working public or freeloaders exactly what it is I'm doing. Now, back to a couple of wee things. So, I explained during the preparation phase of the tutorial, obviously for people watching the recording, you won't see that unless you've gone on YouTube, it's just over there. With the legs, because they're made out of hundreds of moving parts, the process of building them is completely different to the method of building the torso that I'm about to use. Now, I've got this as one reference, and I have drawing work as another. Now then, I just turned on the light so I can see my references better. Also, if anyone wants to donate me a chair that doesn't squeak like a bastard, I would be extremely happy. Anyway, first things first, I need to work on a rough height for this unit, right? So, go to my left viewport and zoom, and I want to create basically just a box. Now the box is going to come from roughly below the knee to roughly above the knee in size, and it's going to be approximately that shape, okay, and size. Give it a little bit of the old there, like that, and then if I pop that there, you can see that that is roughly the size that it's going to be, not including things like shoulder pads and junk, okay. Now I'm going to bring that to there. Just put it roughly in the middle, okay, because this is going to be my reference. So I want it to be in the right place. Ignore the fact that the pivots are quite obviously not in the right place. Okay, now if I just convert to editable poly, and I am going to effect pivot only, center to object. That way, if I need to just adjust the size, which I fully intend to, I can just drag it out a bit more like that. Now, that was a non-uniform scale, remember, so we will have to reset the X form if we keep it this way. Okay, but this is just for my reference. Now, another couple of things I'm going to need to do. So, I'm going to get, see where it says front LL here? I'm actually going to drag that up to here, and put this in front of this part here. The reason being that I'm going to start hiding some parts, so I'm going to need to know where the front is. Thank you. I'm going to need to know where the front is. Just got bought a coffee. It's always nice to say thank you. Okay, so I'll take out LL because it's not a left leg. There we go. And now what I can do is just grab this and this, right click, and hide unselected, or even isolated. I'll just hide unselected for the moment. Alright, so rather than reshaping this, which I can do obviously using mesh smooths and curves and all that kind of bump, instead what I'm going to do is basically build on top of this using this as a rough frame, and then delete the frame and then fill it in with detail. Now, sorry about the creaking of the chair. I'm just going to make myself as comfortable as I can. If you're not comfortable, you know, you're going to find it a lot harder at work. Right, autosave's kicked in, so that's why it was just taking a minute there. And just get my reference. There we go. Okay, now, because I'm recording and broadcasting at the same time, hopefully the quality is going to be okay. But I've removed a lot of it just to be on the safe side. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to start with a cylinder and auto grid. I'm going to change my height segments to 1 and my sides to 32, because polygon counts aren't something we're going to be scared of today. And now I'm just going to pull it out. Like that, and that will just give me this shape here. Convert to editable poly. And I'm just going to start messing around from this shape, because I need a basic insert shape. So I'm using 0 height bevels. If you're not used to those, then frankly you've been watching someone else's terrible tutorials rather than the best damn tutorials on the internet, i.e. these ones. Learn how to do 0 length bevels. They will save you a shitload of time, pardon my Spanish. Okay, so now we have this shape here, and I'm going to use a swift loop here. The reason being that this will enable me to split this off into different kind of construction phases. Now, if you're like, "Ooh, what does that mean, Chris?" Well, I shall explain to you as I go along. Now, what I need to do next is basically grab this entire piece, shift and move it, and then I'm going to take away some parts that I don't need, so that, for example, and this. Okay, and now I can basically just start messing around with my model, trying to get it to work the way I want it to. So I'm going to grab this inside border. I should be able to grab the inside border. Where's it gone? Well, not the inside border I need. Hang on a second. F3. I'm probably upside down or something. I need that. For some reason it's not selecting. Let me just see if there's anything behind it. There. Now if I go to my top view and zoom, hit F3 so I can see what I'm doing, and just bring along to here. What I want to do is get to the point where this line that I can't see very well because it damaged my eyeball the other week, and the one there are basically overlapping slightly. Now once those are overlapped, what I can do is go back to here, press Ctrl A and just bridge, and what it should do, God willing, is bridge those parts to make this, which is what I needed. Now what I'm going to do next, rather than just, you know, scale it all willy-nilly style, go to my left viewport, I'm going to scale everything and just make sure that that part comes out a bit further than that. And then I'm going to grab here and ring it, and that will enable me to fatten this part up a little bit. Probably be easier if I control select my polygon first. Okay, because we need to get a bigger section there, and then at the back or the front, depending on how you feel, I can just ring it again and just use my move tool and just thicken up the sides of this piece of metal. Okay, so that gives us that piece on that piece. Okay, so that works okay. Now what I need to do here at this point is move both these pieces slightly away from this model, and then I'm going to move this one slightly closer, because a lot of this is going to be about stability, right? So if we have rods connecting these two, this is going to be weak, this is going to be strong because they're nearer to each other. Okay, so if you don't quite understand what I mean by that, don't worry, it'll come to you. Okay, now the top of this, which is represented by those two pieces there. Now remember, I divided this to 32, which means it's basically double that of a 16 segment cylinder. So you've got to take that into account while we do this. I am going to take these parts here and here and just extrude them, just lightly. Okay, to about there. And then what I can do is take this piece and this piece, bring them down just a little bit and flatten them. See that? So I'm using the scale and just flattening this edge. And I can do it again with this edge if I just double click it. And then for the two polygons that make up the top, I'm going to flatten those as well. Okay. The reason we do that now is because it's going to make it so much easier for our modelling flow doing it that way. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to inset it just a little bit. You can also use your bevel tool, remember. Now check your insert and make sure that it's doing it evenly around the edges. As long as it is, we are fine. and then I'm going to extrude this like so to about there, and then we have an interesting shaped kind of clamp. So what I can do here is grow it, so I'm going to just bevel it outwards, or I can do a extrude and just grow my extrude, but I'm just doing it by eye because, you know, it's the way I roll, man. And then like that to bring it to about there. Now you may notice that my extrude basically started coming in there when I was using the bevel, because bevel gives you a very loose control of your model. So if you're not sure, just do it again. I've let go of my mouse and clicked, there we go, and that'll give me this shape. Now remember, I am working very freeform here. If you're uncomfortable with working freeform, that's okay, you know, you can work any way that makes you comfortable. Now I'm just going to go over here, and I tend to work normally from just kind of one reference picture. That's all I really like working from. I will occasionally have a couple, but I prefer working from just the one given the opportunity. Okay, now I've got this basic shape here. What I need to do now is I want to kind of look at my shape, so I'm going to come in from the front, because this bit's somewhat trickier, because what I want to do now is take this and move it to there, okay, and get this angle. Now the problem with this angle is that it starts messing up all the other shapes in our model. See that? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag this, and you see the point where that becomes kind of a straight line, just there. And that's because I've mentioned this several times to people who follow along with my tutorials. I basically don't turn on anti-aliasing. I'm very, very careful to turn it off a lot of the time, because then I've automatically got kind of guidelines that I want. Okay, and now I'm just going to adjust this. So this one, I'm just going to move it in until I get these two pieces kind of overlapping like that. Okay, and then we've got this nice strong shape going on, and I hit F3 there, and you can see it now, this shape. Now what I can do as well is bring in this edge here. So I'm going to just grab by vector. It is a very thick piece, and I'm going to scale it in like that, and I'm going to scale in these verts here as well, just to see how it looks. Yeah, I think it looks better like that. I tend to take a lot of the design, even though I'll have like the concept and I'll have various ideas that I've either directly taken or, you know, ideas that I've seen that I liked, and working it as I go along. Okay, like I say, I mean, the difference between this and assembling a model kit is the reason I use things like, you know, heavy metal, GW, what's it again, those jacks, all sorts of things, transformers, even though I hate them, is because doing it this way means we've got a concept, and concept is expensive. Okay, a concept artist is expensive. I know, my daughter's training to be one, you know, and I think it's a great career choice. The problem we have is most artists can't afford one, especially when we're practicing. We want to make something good. A lot of the time 3D artists, you know, we're very talented at what we do, but we can't come up with amazing, intricate ideas of things to make, and that's where, you know, having a good library of models comes in handy. And if you can't afford them, the internet has millions and millions of pictures, and you know what, there are people out there who are more than happy to even give you pictures of their ones. You know, they'll take photographs for you. I've had times in the past where someone actually lent me a Master Gundam which came from Scotland in a carefully packaged box, so I could do some research on how fingers worked. You know, people are kind, people are nice if you ask them nicely. As long as you don't, you know, mess up their stuff and break it because, you know, you're a big old clumsy arsehole. Anyway, it's gonna... I did consider for a while making a tutorial on Gundams, but the Gundam community is goddamn crazy, quite frankly. They're really absolutely mental cake. And it's very easy to get something wrong and then they'd have been like all sad, so I didn't. Okay, so we've got this piece. This is a basic piece that we just started on, and I'm going to create a secondary piece. that comes out of this from here. Okay, now what I can do with these is I'll be able to then clone or copy these around my model and create loads of them. So it's going to be great for me anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach these two as a clone. And that means that I can now grab just these two polygons, hello, and basically extrude them up. Like that. I don't need to extrude them far really. And what I'm going to do now is basically mess around with the shape. So if I take this and this, bring them across, because I want to get some real impressions of strength and stability and all the other cool things that are going to make this model really shine as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so I'm going to bring those in like that, and then if I go to my left viewport and zoom, hit F3, so I can see where this is going to come across and connect sort of. And as you can see, there's not a lot of gap between these two here, yeah? So I'd like to work on that a little bit. Now I can't really bring this down too far, so if you don't understand what I'm doing, don't worry about it, okay? It will come, I promise. But basically what I'd like to do is have this around about here. See where that is? Now the problem with that is let us come out. I'm not so sure that I really like that shape very much. I mean, it'll do, but I'll have to work on it to make it more of a stable kind of shape if I'm going to have it come and connect onto that. So now I'm going to extrude this, and then I'm going to go into my left view port again, and that will allow me to shape these. And I'm going to keep these shapes nice and straight, so that is going to come down to round about there. And that shape there is just underneath really anyway. I think I'll bring this up, and what I'm going to do is just change the scale on this piece just a tiny bit. Not a lot, but just a little. And that way I've got more of a space underneath. Okay, now I find I do a lot of things like this, just kind of minor adjustments to the shapes and things, and later on I'll probably bring this down again and make it smaller. We'll just see. In fact, I might need to bring the entire pieces I've just created to about there, because they were getting a little bit big. There we go. Now it's a uniform scale, so I don't really need to worry too much about things there. And I'm going to get this bit and this bit and just use the extrude tool. And that will go into there like that. And now I can just do the adjusting until it completely overlaps this part in the way that I want it to at the top and at the bottom. See, like so. Now what I can do is get this, bring it to about there, and then this, and bring it to about there. Okay, so now we get this shape, which is obviously a nice tough looking shape, and I'm going to curve these parts, so I'll just use a chamfer on those. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of trying to keep this area here and this area here sort of even. It doesn't have to be exact, sort of even, and then I can just put these in like that. So now we get that curve shape there, see? Now at the front, I just want to check the front of this piece. Let autosave do its thing first, obviously. And check that that's flat, which it is. I haven't applied any mesh smooths or anything to this yet. I probably will soon. Okay, that's pretty good. I like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this again, holding down shift, I'm going to scale it this away. Whee! Like that. Okay, let's bring it up to about there. And then I'm going to scale the outside of it to about there, like so. And then I'm going to do some trimmings. So I'm going to take away basically, let's say, that lot. And I need to keep it, make sure it's even. So there we go, delete. And as you can see, because we're layering up these pieces one at a time, we're starting to build the detail already, which is going to be helping us a great deal a bit further down the line. Now, what I'm going to do with this is bring it out again, and that will go to there. And you can see how the arm system is starting to build itself up slowly now. Now then, we have that piece. I'm just going to hide this now. I don't really need it at the moment. Okay, so we've got this piece, and what I need to do now is basically have this come out of here and into the bottom of there. Before I do, I'm going to make a copy of it. Chink. Okay, so basically the more copies I have, the better, because now I have this piece and can duplicate it as many times as I see fit, which is cool and helpful. I mean, it's not a difficult part to make, but uniformity is massively important in this kind of model. Now I get this, and what I'm going to do here is extrude it, and I'm going to get my front viewport here because I want to extrude it until it's on a level with this one. Like so. We go in perspective. Okay, and now I'm going to put in a part here, so I just need to again go into my front view. You'll notice I tend to go around my model a lot. I'm constantly looking at it, trying to decide what the best way of doing things with it is. I'm going to swift loop it just here. Swift loop. God damn it, Autodesk. See, you can do things right. And that right thing is the placement system, which I didn't get any money for, and the what do you call it? Swift loop system. Apart from that, I couldn't give a damn about any updates that Autodesk's done in the recent past in the slightest. Just thought I'd put that out there. Okay, so extrude, and I'm going to extrude it basically until we get an intersection happens more or less there. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to drop into my left viewport and zoom on it, and carefully move these into the right place. Reason being because I haven't decided whether or not I want some kind of a connecting seam to go on here or not, and so it makes much more sense to me to do it this way. Right, so now I come out, we can see our basic shape here. Now the actual shape itself needs just a teeny bit of refining, so I'm going to bring this to about there, like that, and then chamfer it so we get a nice curve on it. Probably just a couple of times, you know. Because if I make too many, I get this weird kind of fractal going on down here that I don't really want. Okay, now here I can do the same again, and I want to curve this. Now let's see, I am going to bring these bits back here and here to about there, and then I'm going to run the curve in through here. Okay, so chamfer, not too much because we want quite a sharp curve. There, that works for me. So now we have that shape there. Okay, and that's obviously connecting onto the bottom of this part here, which is kind of cool. It seems okay. I always tend to get a little bit about this kind of shape, because I'm not impressed with the way that all the other parts are kind of bonding onto it, and this one's just kind of clipped on. So I think what I might do is actually bring these two parts here and here, and just bring them forward just a teeny bit. No, not that one, these ones. That one and that one. Okay, and then with that done, what I can do is grab this polygon here, which should go all the way to the back, and extrude it like so. And yeah, that angle there is actually working really nicely for me, and I like it. So that is a bonus as far as I'm concerned. Bring that back a little bit there, and that looks much more sturdy than the original shape that we had. Okay, now what I can do, because I'm happy with the rough shape that I've got here, is I can duplicate it. So if I've got angle snap on, which I haven't at the moment, press A, I can hold down shift and angle it minus 55 degrees. It fits on that end there, and then I can do it again, plus 55 degrees, and it goes on there, like that. Okay, and that gives us this initial kind of gripping piece here, okay, which is quite a complicated little shape, so it's important obviously to really start putting these together. Now, I have another two pieces that I'm going to have to basically attach on, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm now going to align it back to where it was. Okay, so this is aligned where it was now, and I'm going to basically bring it down to about minus 140 degrees, like that. Then I'm going to do it again. About there. Now then, if we look, the angle went a bit weird there, didn't it? What's going on? Oh, I see. I freeform moved it. Okay, so I'm going to move this back to where it was, just on this one, silly old me, and then clone it down by 140. There we are. And now it's in the right place again. If I hit F4, you can see that hang on, am I unrealistic? Yeah. That our piece is kind of starting to come together detail-wise, so that is good. Now what I need to do is take this part here, you may remember it from earlier, and I'm going to duplicate it. So if I take these, yoink, okay, and I'm going to detach it as a clone. So now I should have another one, and the pivot point should already be set up for me, if I can ever select the damn thing. It's always the case that I can never select the piece that I want. Never mind. There we are. So with that done, what I can do is I'm going to bring that one down to 55 that way. Then I'm going to make it 110 this way, obviously, because I need to double 55. And that'll give us these clamps. And then I think I'm going to want one probably about here, and then I'm going to 180 it to there. Okay, and that gives us these pieces. Okay, which is giving us a lot more stability for when it actually attaches onto the piece at the back. Now, because I'm doing it this way, I also need to create a small gap. So I'm going to extrude this back a little bit. Now what I'll do is I'll extrude it a lot for the moment, then grab it and go to my front viewport and zoom. And now if I just get my move tool and just line it up with those there, maybe a little bit more because it's not quite right, you can see it's overlapping. Okay, so I just need to do that. Okay, and back out, drop into perspective and zoom. And now our complex arm mechanism is starting to come together, which is good. So what I need to do over here is I need to start getting some pieces ready for it to connect to down on this part. So don't worry if you don't kind of understand exactly what the hell mad old Chris is talking about here. I'm just going to let autosave do its thing and have a sip of coffee. It's been 30 minutes since this was made. Oh, and it's a nice one too. Well done, the lad. Not be locking you in the cellar tonight. Right then, so if I start with something like this piece, and obviously you'll notice that this piece is just that, okay? It's just this shape. I can get a lot of leg room out of this piece. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that and that and kill it, and this one. Okay, so that gives me that shape there. Next, I can move this down into a position where I'm going to need it, which will be roughly about there-ish. And I'm going to my top viewport. I can line it up with this, just there, and then go to perspective and zoom. You see, we're assembling this as if it's a kind of a machine, which is important. We want this to look good when we're done, we really do. Okay, now I'm going to bring this down a bit, and probably to about there, like so. And then what I can do is I can start connecting these pieces together. So before I do that, let me just elongate this part here. So I'll just do a Control A and cap, and then extrude. Like so. Okay, so we have this shape, right? Now, this one is somewhat more interesting shape because I have to come to it from here. So I think what I'm going to do is build off this. Again, remember what I said, I'm going to I always tend to come up with kind of free-form ways of doing things. It's just the way I work. So I'm just trying to think of the best way of connecting these two together as a kind of a mental exercise as much as anything. And I can think of a few, and I want to try one. So if this doesn't work, I'm too far into the tutorial now to pretend I never did it and, you know, do something else. So if this doesn't work, tough for me, eh? So I'm just going to use my select tool rather than my select and move. And what I like about, you know, doing 3D is sometimes you do this where you take a couple of little risks, and it's quite good fun. Now I'm going to inset this. Not too much, about that much. And I could probably put a swift loop in about there. Reason being I want to deselect those. Okay, and now if I extrude by very little indeed, see that? And I'm going to go to my scale tool and I'm going to scale by local normal. Now because I created this at the top and then cloned it, I should be able to do it this way. See that? And then move it by local normal. Which gives me that shape, which I like. Now ignore the fact that we have this bit here going on, okay? That's not important because we're going to overlap that in just a moment. So what I'm going to do next is take this off local, otherwise I will forget and I will do some horrible things to my model later on. Now in here what I need to do is, well, I've got a couple of choices. I can either build a box on it or I can build geometry directly from my polygons already. So if I've got auto grid, what I could do is just basically start drawing out a model from there. But the problem with this is it's not actually going to really align to this, yeah? So another option I can do is, if I just go into here, and I'm going to take this and this and this and this, and I'm going to clone them. So detach as a clone. Now I've got to find them. There we are. And what I can do is hit F3 and go into vert mode. Now I want to isolate this for a moment, so isolate selection. Hit F3 so I can see what I'm doing, and I can target world. And now I have a piece that is aligned the way that I want it, and it does not have too many verts, and that's important for a little bit later on. So I'm going to end isolate and hide the parts that are supposed to be hidden, you silly thing. Right, and you, go on, go away. Pretty sure I'm making this back to front already, so it doesn't really matter that I've written the word front out there at all, does it? Okay, and let's have a look in here where I just created that extra polygon. There it is. So now what I can do is I can extrude it. So I'll do a bevel first, and the bevel will just let me bring it in just a little bit if I want to. So I'll just give it a 0 height, bring it in, then out like that. Okay, so now we have these parts which are going to be able to obviously come down to these. So if I go to my piece here, and I think what I'm going to do is just move it a moment. Actually no, sod it, I'll leave it as it is. It's always complicated when you're building these kind of pieces, so bear with. Actually, yeah, I am. I'm going to bring it up to the top here. So there we go. And then I'm going to just make sure it's straight on the bottom like that. I'm going to come into my left viewport and zoom. Sorry, front viewport and zoom. And this will allow me to take these parts and basically get them to come onto that piece there, which is what I need. So and have that come to there, and then maybe that piece come to there, and that piece to there. Yeah, that looks like it could work. I just want to be careful with the angle that I'm putting out here. And then increase the angle here. So I'll be able to use things like FFDs and stuff if I need to as well, which is a help. Okay, and just get this one as well. So I'm just thinking constantly now as to kind of the shape that I'm making and how I'm making it and why I'm making it this way. And then I can kind of start smoothing out my model as I go along. So I'll put that there. I'm marquee grabbing, by the way, to make sure I get the parts in the middle as well. Now, what I can do here is, if I look at the angle difference between this and that, which is not that one, shift, there we go, 40 degrees. That means that I can move this if the pivot point is up there. So I'm going to go here and affect pivot only, and I'm going to align my pivot with, what are you doing? Stop that. I'm going to align my pivot with this. Before I do, I should probably reset my X form. So X form reset. Right click, convert to editable polygon, and then effect pivot only, align my pivot to that. And we're going to align, well, not its orientation, but its pivot, you know. Okay, so now I can move this 40 degrees as well, once I've finished dicking around with the effect pivot only button anyway. So I'll hold shift, and that goes to there. Okay, so this is the actual created angle that this is at. I'll go to my front viewport now, and I can see that it's over there. Now this is cylinder 107, this will be 108, so let's hide cylinder 107. No, wrong one. Correct one. There we go. And this will allow me now to make sure that this part is going over the top of here. Okay, because it's quite a thin part, but I want to make sure it kind of goes over. So I'm going to widen it a little bit in places. There we go, let's go around it. Bring that up a little bit, not too much, just a little. Okay, and now extrude it straight down. And all the while I'm doing this, I'm constantly thinking of the shape that I'm making and, you know, the best way to kind of make the shape work. There we go, that goes into there. Now I'm going to give it a bit of a shape around the outside a bit. So if I just get this and just do a ring select, for example, control select by polygon, and then I can just extrude it all, just a little bit, not a lot. Click OK, and then I can just make sure these various sections are straight. Remember, you can't do them all at the same time or your model will get very badly messed up. Okay, and that seems to be connecting okay onto there. I'm not going to make it all kind of a weird janky shape because I think that'll spoil it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start curving it. So I'm going to go into my chamfer tool and start messing around with the actual shape a bit more. Then here, and then here, okay, and we end up with a much more smooth, much stronger looking shape going on now. Now then, because I've made this, what I'm going to have to do is now move these back, so I'm going to just unhide all, and that will give me everything that I've ever created ever. And then I'll hide everything I've ever created ever, except for a few bits. I'm not bothering to use layers because frankly I don't even... I always set off with the best of intentions, you know how it is, but I just never do. I keep meaning to. It's like, oh, I'll definitely name everything properly this time. It's like, I've got a friend of mine's like really one of the best artists that I've ever met, especially when it comes to organic stuff. And he's the same as me, I've noticed. It's like, I'll look at his stuff and it's all object 1 to object 99,999 or something. Which is infuriating, I suppose, if you don't want that kind of thing, but it's the way that people tend to work if they're working with one-man teams. Anyway. That should plug into there, and then I get rid of that, and you can see that it comes out of there now and kind of slots into it and slots onto that. Yeah, good. I'm glad we are all in agreement with how that should work. Now, what I'm going to do is attach these two together. Wow. Okay, and with these two attached together, what I can now do is shift and move it into that one. Okay, now remember I didn't really build that one the same way as this, so I'll probably have to copy this as well. There we go. Object 21. See, this is exactly what I was talking about, isn't it? Okay, and if I just look at the shapes of these in the... it's left viewport, isn't it? And I can just start kind of shaping these a bit. There we go. Have I put snap on? I bloody have. I hate snap tool. I know some people can't live without it, but I'm not one of them people. Okay, delete. Oop, wrong one. I said delete. I don't know why it's doing this at the minute. It's like, oh, I'm not going to let you delete stuff. I'm not exactly sure why. I think my polygon selection thing probably is a little bit jank, so I'm going to have to do something with it later on. Anyway, I'm going to bring that down to about there. Okay, and this has given us the start of what it is I need to do. Now I'm going to delete that as well. See, I don't know why it's doing this, but probably once I've reset max it'll stop. Now I'll just cap that. Just make sure it's nice and flat. Okay, and that's given us these shapes here. Now, I don't have the last bit at the bottom on, and I want that, so give it a little stretch. Because once I've done this bit, we have basically the entire framing for the arm ready. So I think I'm going to start probably connecting things together. Before I do, I'm going to save my workbench. So save as, and the reason I do this is because if it breaks, I'm not going to be left crying and pooing myself. I've had that before. I've recorded like hours of tutorial. Literally, I've done stuff before where I've done like 3 or 4 hours of tutorial end to end, and then I'll come back to it and it's like crashed and save didn't work and all the backups are corrupt, and oh, it's horrible. It really is. I remember that happened years ago with a tutorial I did based on Sid the Sloth, which never got released. And then it happened again on a tutorial based on what was it again? An ATST walker, that was it. Because I'd always thought, well, maybe I'll make one, and so I finally got around to making one. I had a great time, and it was like really detailed. It was one of my earlier pieces, but it came out really nicely. And then it was like, oh, ruined. Size. There we go. So there, that's this piece all attached together. Such a beautiful kind of metallic yet organic shape. I do love a nice design. Okay, so with that there, I now have to create a piece down here. This will be somewhat more fun and complex. Let me just convert to a poly. I just want to see if my select tool's working on this one. Yeah, that one is fine. Okay. So just delete that piece. Actually, no, sod it. I'm going to use it. I've made it. I may as well use it. So I'm just going to drag it over to here and then drag it out, just until it kind of interacts with the box that I'm building it into. I like how you can kind of see how things overlap now in Max. I think it's kind of funky. Okay, and we're kind of just working on very basic shapes still at the moment, so I'm just going to start scaling it a little bit that way. Okay, a little bit less. Yeah, that works. Convert to poly again, and I'll just stick an X-form reset on it. Okay, now let's have a look. I am going to use Swift Loop on this, and I'm going to use one there, then I'm going to use one there, then I'm going to use one there. Yeah, that should do it. Maybe another one inside it, there, and there, for later on. Okay, so that's some random edges created, you probably think, but it isn't random, that's the point. I always tend to think ahead. So that's our sloped bottom going on there. Sloped bottom. Wow, it's great being childish. And over here I'm going to put another swift loop in, just about there. And then I can grab that and that and that and that. Now, I want to look at where these parts are going to come in, because it's kind of, not even kind of, it's ridiculously, that's it, important. So, extrude to there, and then look at my left viewport and zoom, and yeah, that's okay. So what I need to do now, and I'm in orthographic, haha, look at me mom, I'm professional. Why do I do this to myself? I'm going to extrude these again. And then I'm going to extrude these up so they intersect through here, like that. Okay, and now I can go to my left viewport, zoom in on this part, and do some adjusting to it. So, move this in to about there. And then move this to about, let's see, about the same area. Okay, just to make these even as possible. Now I'm going to grab this and to broaden it to about there. Now you'll notice these two are obviously coming over this, so what I'm going to do here is just drag these both until they go to there. And let's have a look at those shapes. I'm going to then put in a mesh smooth. Now, I could use symmetry on these, but I'm not going to really, because I don't even know why anymore. So I'm just going to put that there and that there. Okay, so now you can see our two edges are in place, and now I can get these, bring them down to about there. Okay, so that's where they go. Now I can bring these up, and for this I'm going to have to use perspective, because otherwise I'm going to end up tangling my model a bit. So I just need the top edges, you see. Okay, and back into here again. So they're going to go into there. Now these and these will come down to about there in perspective, and as you can see we've got these parts which are not a good shape yet, so I'm going to just quickly isolate my selection. And I just really need these bits. Get that one as well though, what the hell. Okay, now I'll just move these down. And then I can grab these shapes here. And bring them up. Like so. So they come off the bottom, and oops, what I'm going to do as well is just go around and get these, because I think it'll look better if I take just a little bit more time on them. Just wait for autosave again. Why do we wait for autosave, children? Because we don't want our model to be dicked up, that's why. Okay. By the way, dear 3D world, if you are reviewing this, okay, I'm not making a pilot this time, so if we can keep like the average score kind of nice, got kids to feed, man. I'll send you a Mars bar. Oh, it's not bribery, everyone likes chocolate. Right. Put it there. Okay, end isolate. We're back here again. Now let's look at the shape. Nice, because it's not overlapping as much, certainly. I might bring that in a bit more. Let me see. I'll just isolate the selection again because I want to bring the tops in. So, isolate selection. You see, when we start getting these really complicated shapes like we've got now, you have to take a lot more time to kind of stop and basically sniff around your model. Make sure you're not going to mess it up bad time. Okay, end isolate. As you know, the plan is basically to bring it in like that. Okay, so we need that shape. Okay, with that shape accomplished, as it were, let's have a look down here. Now there's going to be a cylindrical shape coming in here, so I'm not going to bother wrecking around that shape yet. I'm just going to make sure that we've got everything that we need before I start curving this up. Now you can see we've got this really thin area here, okay, and that is a massive design flaw. You wouldn't get this in anything, especially military, because it's too goddamn thin. So let's add some sturdiness and stability to this fella, shall we? Now I can't put a curve up on that, so I'm not going to, but I can put one on this. There we go, and now we've got this lovely curved shape going on here. Alright, so I am 57 minutes in to this set now. Well, this part of this set, okay? And this was always going to be a complicated piece, but you can see it's coming together and it's looking nice. In context, I mean, if I just unhide all, you can kind of see where it's going and what it's going to be doing. It's just it's going to take a little bit of time before it looks really good. Also, I've got it back front, to be fair. It's just, I don't really care. In the next part, obviously I'm going to continue fleshing out the shape of this, because once I've got one side done, I can start working on the other side. And to be honest, like I say, there's no moving parts in it, so it's not like we need to desperately get worried about ensuring all the parts fit or anything. We just have to make sure that it looks good. Okay, anyway, I am going to stop recording, and I will see you in the next part, and until then, TTFN.